Hillary,
Yes, Dr.
I can't hear anybody.
Kingsman.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear Hillary
Okay.
too.
I wanted to say something very quickly. I think the contributions are very good, but I would urge us to remain very focused. Our agenda is to bring down the regime. It's not to disrupt civilians. Our agenda is to stop Ruto from his ongoing tyranny. It's not to make life uncomfortable for fellow Kenyans. So let's get that very, very clearly. If we are not targeted, then we can't succeed. So if somebody was to say that we are 10 million people on the street and we are targeting public spaces, say, for example, Arambe House, State House, any space where these vagrants stay or work or purport to work, that is legitimate. But I would be very careful about occupying a hospital that would be there to treat those that they have abused and assaulted and injured. Because we want doctors to continue working so that they can treat the injured, so that they can preserve life. So those who are free can join us, but it can't be by force. We can't force anybody to demonstrate. We can't force anybody to protest. People would have to exercise their democratic right to stay away from the protest. That's part of the society that we want to build. There is no society we will create that is based on force. We will be replicating Ruto. We will not be solving any problem. So let's be very clear. We want to solve a problem, and our solution cannot imitate the problem. Our solution has to be better than the problem.
Thank you so much, Dr. for that clarification, which is indeed very important. We do not want to disrupt any activities, and we also really at this point out that the demonstrators should really align to the given given laws while expressing their rights. Hillary, whom did you queue next? Okay.
Maj, can you
yes,
hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, all right. I queue in Joe Karani, Mwangi, then Nyaragwen.
Okay. Joe
Karani, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, man.
A good evening to you all.
Evening.
I really want to thank Dr. Miguna for keeping us, making us stand on business. Because for me, mine is very small. It's just something that I've noted during this movement. And I think it is important that we point it out and understand this. So we're at a time where our selfish ambitions have to be put aside. We have to sort of do what is best for the group. Now, I'll talk about it by using illustrations. At the end of last week, there are two people who gave in to their selfish ambitions and derailed the conversation around the movement. I don't want to mention their names, but you know who they are, the music guy and the other car guy. They gave into their selfish ambitions and derailed what we're doing for this country. And now I will use another illustration of somebody else who ignored the noise and just went ahead and did what was good for the group. And I can mention her name, Hanifa. We dragged her through the mud. We said all sorts of things about her, but she stayed on business and did what she had planned for that day, which was go to each and every injured Shuja or somebody, all the ones who had passed and had been killed by this Ruto regime and take care of them. By the end of the day, we were already talking about the entire conversation around that whole thing was how Hanifa had managed to do what NHIF had has tried to do and failed, then they're even creating something new, and it's going to still fail. So we need to really think in everything that you do, everything that you say. That tweet you're tweeting, tomorrow when you're going out, be your brothers and sisters' keeper. Remember, just do what is good for the group and put away your selfish ambitions, because I don't want another situation where we're divided and conquered, because I fear Ruto winning, and this man cannot win. You guys saw him yesterday in that interview. Oh my God. He cannot win, and we cannot let him win. I know I've heard all of you, and I know each and every one of us wants a better Kenya, and that's what we're fighting for. So let's keep up the fight. Let's to talk kesho, see what 10 million. Let us fight for a better Kenya. Maze, that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Karani. We have several tweet coming in and some reports that all other counties, so many counties are ready, and young people are there, are many people some have now starting
I
even.
can't hear anything.
Dr. Miguna, can you hear me?
No, it's only now I'm hearing you. I was not hearing you before.
Okay. Let Hillary try to speak again, and then
Dr. Can you hear me? I think Dr. is
and
not
Maj, can you let Kigame speak? I know probably he has not requested, but I see him in the crowd, and it would be important probably to hear his voice.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me send him the mic. Can you, Dr. Miguna, can you hear Hillary as I bring on Dr. Kigame?
I can't hear Hillary.
Okay, Hillary. Dr. Cannot hear you, but if you leave, the space is gonna drop. Let me see. Let me text you and see how we can proceed with this.
Dr. can drop, then come back. I think maybe that can work.
Okay, that's also possible. But Ruben Kigame, we would like to hear from you. Please pick the mic. Let me send you the mic. And so as we continue, there's somebody has requested me to ask, because there's a breaking news that Sakaja states that the demonstrations are not going to go on in Nairobi tomorrow. Is this because they have a flyer and then they have an Citizen TV logo on it? Please, let's take the next 5 minutes to confirm if that is true before we have somebody comment on it. Hillary, who is next?
Let's Mwangi, are you here? Mwangi, Nyaradwen, go ahead. Nyaradwen?
Thank you, Hillary, and everyone today on this space. My question, yes, I can see Dr. here. My question was to Dr. Miguna. Dr. I'm happy we are with you today. And we have realized that this war is not only about us. There are infights within the same government. And as our protest has always been peaceful, and I insist we have always been peaceful. Nobody is going to convince me otherwise, because I saw policemen shoot at shops with live rounds. So it is the police. And then there was also some people that came in later, and apparently these people had weapons. But I am sure those people are not Genz. Now, to Dr. For the sake of protecting ourselves, because myself, I'll have to be on the ground tomorrow. For the sake of protecting ourselves and our young people, there is this infight that is going on between the president and his deputy, and also other people involved. I don't know. And you realize there are chances that maybe these other people, civilians with crude weapons, are sponsored. Right now, I'm seeing something going around on the social media. During 2023 finance bill or cost of living protest, they called themselves Nairobi Business Community. Today, they're calling themselves Nairobi Youth Business Community. And these are the same people who unleash war on I call it war on innocent citizens. Now, is there a way? Is there, being somebody who's on the know-how, is there a way we can identify ourselves without having been the target? Dr. Thank you. I'll drop my speaker so you can have somebody else.
Thank you. Yeah, please go on.
Yes, thank you. Nyaradwen, I understand what you are saying. Yes, we do have a problem, which normally in political science they basically call elite fracture. So there are divisions within the executive, but that should not concern us. Those are their own problems. We should not care about their problems, and we should not focus on their problems. The people that were sponsored, the people that came with weapons, were sponsored by the same government. I believe these people were Farouk sponsored, they were Oscar Sudi sponsored, they were Ruto sponsored. I think they are using Rigathi Gachagua as a red herring. Rigathi Gachagua is not part of the protests, so they cannot bring him in. He's part of them. He's Ruto's deputy. He appointed him, and he's in government, and he's part of the problem. So let us not be diverted. I think that if we are all dressed the same, it's difficult because it's quite a large number, and some people don't have the ability to make T-shirts or to buy. But if we can, I think that dressing in white and black and green were the three colors that were chosen. And for people who can carry the flag, water, everybody should carry water if they can, because it helps with the tear gas. And then just stay together. Don't spread out. Spreading out opens up those who spread out as easy targets of attack. Because once you are alone, that's how they cornered Rex. Once they find you alone on the street, they can shoot you and there is no accountability. Nobody's taking pictures. Nobody can come to your aid. So as much as possible, let us be together, and let us be together in huge numbers that they cannot confront. Ruto is weak and down. Yes, they say that he's lethal when he's down, but I can assure you right now, Ruto is defanged. He has no poison, he has no teeth. He has to go with this entire regime.
Thank you so much, Dr. And another thing, and Yara, that was a very good question there. Another thing that I hear people speak about on the streets a lot is that, the division that Yaradwen is expressing now, that, they could be fighting each other, which doesn't appear to make sense because, as Dr. rightly says, they're one team. So constitutionally, if one resigns, the other has to go with it. So I think that idea of letting citizens think that they're fighting each other is just a propaganda there to try to bring in the tribe issue again, and just to just bring in divisive aspects into the conversation. Godfather. Godfather.
Godfather,
Thank you, Madge. Thank you, Hillary, Madge, the co-host, Kingsman, and our key speaker, the General, Dr. Miguna, the speakers that have already given their views so far, as well as those who are going to give, and our honorable listeners. This is a very important conversation, and I just wanted to retaliate that this is the week, and as the General stated, the only option is to march forward to put more pressure, to apply pressure so that we can have the government go home in entirety. So we are trying to look into that. But as we look at that, the issues that are coming up, and these will be playing at on the ground tomorrow, are the magic of numbers. How then do we stick together if the tear gas comes? Nyaragden will be, for instance, will be on the ground. Tear gas may likely disperse the populace. So is there any scientific way of trying to control the crowd so that they remain in numbers, so that we can try to reduce the numbers of the fatalities and the injured by the police? Because that is something that is still a concern, as much as we must march forward. That is the first part. The second part, how can we document the atrocities that are being committed by the police? Because eventually we need to hold them accountable after the fact. Because we've seen, for instance, yesterday's interview of Ruto, Mr. Ruto, in our State House. He doesn't seem to understand what's going on. He seems to be living in a different world altogether. He doesn't have the empathy, even when we talk about a child has been shot over 7 times or 8 times. His response is, isn't he alive? These are some of the issues we're looking at. So, we're looking at someone who we must get out of power by all means possible. And we expect that they're also likely to use a lot of force. So how do we document these atrocities that are likely to be committed by the police and other criminals, so that we can try and also hold them accountable after the fact, apart from the citizen journalism, which I believe most of them will be having smartphones to try and record this. But we see them, they have the advantage of having the CCTV cameras to try and get the looters. But how do we also hold them accountable moving forward? Thank you. Thank you, Maj.
Thank you so much, Godfather. Kingswan, go.
Margin, maybe just to contribute on the issue that is going around about the rift between the president and his deputy. I think that is their problem as KK. And even from my tweets, I've kept on saying that whether, like, I saw the deputy president saying that like his sons didn't approve him supporting the deputy president, then I think those are elite issues and they are not our issues. So whether they already, as a people, we have said we are tired with the KK. So if there is a rift between them, then it is, when they are divided, the easier they fall. So it is better for us as a unit that they keep on having infights, because when they are divided, then it is easier for us to attack. So for me, let's not give airtime to this, because it's just a diversionary tactic that they are trying to. I don't think if these two, they know a lot about each other that they cannot let go at this point in time. So my sentiment is, let's not try to give oxygen or life to the sentiments that they are having between them. They are deputy, and that is their own issue. Our issue is about tomorrow, about Occupy. It's about our issues as a people united together as 57 million of us. So hata wakiamua sahii waenda wakulane mangumi huko State House Road, walimane. That is none of our, wapigane, whatever their problem is, we don't give a hoot. So let's focus on the cause, and the cause is about us being on the road tomorrow, in the streets, everywhere in this country, marching peacefully, 10 million of us.
Thank you, Kingsman. Thank you so much. Frederick, go ahead. Frederick, then young adults, then Deborah, on that order.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to host and the host and our guest speaker. Mine goes to the general. The citizens are not rebellious and they are not armed, but they have a second layer of safety net, which is courts. And courts have given direct court orders that police should not use tear gas, should not abduct people, but they continue doing so. As citizens, or as the courts, what should now the courts do, or judges do, to ensure that citizens are protected? Because these orders are given, no one takes them seriously, they are just treated as paper. So what should citizens do? Because there are no arms for them. Should now courts pronounce themselves and say that now also we are downing our tools so that they can be able to protect citizens, to ensure that these court orders have some effect? Thank you.
So I can answer that if you allow me.
Go ahead, Dr.
Hillary,
Yeah, Mike, tell him to go ahead.
can you
I
hear
think he's
me?
not.
Is everybody hearing me?
Daktari, go ahead. Daktari, go ahead.
Okay,
Kindly
so
proceed, yeah.
the short answer, my friend, I start with the last question. The short answer is the courts don't have the power to enforce their own orders because their orders are supposed to be enforced by the police, the same police that are using tear gas, that are assaulting, that are maiming, that are abducting, that are torturing and killing innocent Kenyans. If you recall, in not so long a time, I had 35 court orders saying I was a Kenyan, I should be allowed to be in my own country, my house should not have been destroyed, I should not have been removed. They never obeyed them for 5 years. So don't think that the animal has changed. This wild beast is still the same one. The same Koome that was heading the Nairobi police is now the IG of police of Kenya. Most of the abductors and assaulters and torturers are now both in uniform and in civilian clothing, which means that we go back to what we were saying from yesterday, and I've been saying consistently on my part for years now. The power is in our hands. Ultimately, we have resorted back to the default, which is clause 1 of the Constitution. The sovereignty is now vested in us, and it's up to us to enforce all the laws that should have been enforced by the police. But of course, we don't have weapons, and we are doing so peacefully. And that's all we have to continue doing. But to do that effectively requires that we show up in large numbers. That's the only way to do so effectively. Essentially, to occupy all the spaces. And if and when we do, because I don't think that it's been done as effective as we can, then there will be no tear gas. The police will be rendered impotent. There is no police that can throw tear gas to 10 million people in the CBD, for example. That would be suicide. So they won't do it. So the next question was with respect to, I don't know if it was the fact that they have weapons and we don't, or they can come with weapons and we don't. And I think my answer still remains the same, that if we are 10 million strong, that they won't be able to do that. I think that is where we are. That is what we have to emphasize, that everything relies on the turnout. And if we remain peaceful and people can see a regime shooting at peaceful protesters, the regime loses credibility and legitimacy. Regime falls on its own weight. Even the UN, and we do have people supporting us from all the way from the UN and many of these governments right now, they will denounce the government. It will be a pariah regime, and it will be subject to indictment, and their leaders will be subject to prosecution in many jurisdictions. There are other things that are happening that I will not disclose, but there are other things we are doing. There are other things we must do. So those who work for international organizations that are here and are listening, you know what to do. Those who are practicing law internationally, you know what to do. Many of them are aware of what happened to Pinochet in Spain. Pinochet was the biggest dictator and tyrant in the 1980s and early 90s. And a small magistrate in a small town in Spain arrested Pinochet in Spain. And that was the end. So don't think that Ruto is above the law internationally. He is not, and he knows that. And we are going to deal with him perpendicularly both in Kenya and abroad. Be assured of that. We are not resting, we are not sleeping, and we will not let him go free. We brought down Moi, and he had to accept to bring multipartyism after 24 years. What is Ruto with less than 2 years? So there should be no fear. Some of us don't fear Ruto. I have to disclose, because this I did not disclose yesterday. I have spoken with Ruto myself 4 separate times about tracking, locating, and repatriating money that was stolen by Uhuru Kenyatta and stashed abroad. Because some of us have traced the money, we know where the money is. We know how much it is. And I have told them, this money is more than enough to wipe out the debt that you are complaining about and put Kenya on a trajectory of becoming a first world. And William Ruto has never reverted back to me. He told me once to put it in writing, and I did, and he never responded. So this is not a person we can give a pass. This is not a person we can excuse anymore. Instead of overtaxing Kenyans, we have told him what the solution is. We know where the money is. We know it is in its trillions. We know what the debt of Kenya is. We know this money is capable of wiping the debt and developing Kenya, and you don't have to tax anyone. Not to the level that he's trying to do. And he has refused to do it. Instead, he goes behind our back, cuts deals with people like Matiang'i so that he gets his cut, so that he can bank it in Dubai and other places. We know what they are doing. So I want us to be very, very clear. William Ruto is not capable of being reformed. Thank you.
Daktari, on that same note, I've had a problem about this thing called odious debt. We are being told we owe trillions of billions in terms of dollars. That is like external debt from IMF, from I don't know where. Is it possible we audit everything and then we know the real debt that has been used in development? Because I understand our constitution says that a debt, an external debt, should only be used for development projects, only and only then. There's a Eurobond that came in and it never go to Nairobi. We do not know the whereabouts of that money. I saw the interest mature the other day. I think they paid around 165 billion not long ago. So when we are able to do this, and now Ruto is out of the equation, Daktari, can we get this IMF and everyone, and even ask them if you know the Kenyan constitution, because ignorance is not a defense before a court of law.
But
If they knew,
my brother, to
yes,
cut
Daktari.
the long story short, let us not put the cart before the horse. Right now, we should focus on mobilizing and making sure people are safe. And I have said safety is in our numbers. Before we deal with the details of auditing the debt, you will not be able to get the records and be able to record competently until they're out of power. So our agenda right now is to remove Ruto. Then we can do all those other things. Because they have not disclosed this information in a credible manner. For example, they are saying they paid debt this amount, this amount. Have you seen the evidence of payment of debt? No, we haven't. They have not published it. They have not shown us the transactions. Another thing is there is money that they have been collecting from, let's say, unclaimed assets. People who just stole money and they are unclaimed. or money that have been repatriated from people that stole, let's say, Chicken Gate. This guy's, the money was supposed to have been returned from London, England. We have not seen any evidence of that money, where it went, or even this money that EACC says it keeps recouping or recovering from thieves, or cutting deals and saying that they have gotten 100 or 200, 235 million or whatever, and they have recovered from this or that person. We have not seen any record of any of that. So there is a lot of issues, but we don't want to be lost in all those details. We have to be focused on the superstructure. The superstructure is the dissolution of government, and then the process of reconstituting a new dispensation, a new state, a new republic, so that we can start afresh. Kenya is not an independent state. Kenya is still a colonial state, and Ruto is a puppet of the West. Everything he does on behalf of Washington first and foremost, then London, then the other capitals. Kenya comes, if at all, in the footnotes. You saw it when he spoke yesterday. He couldn't even acknowledge 8 bullets on a minor. He couldn't acknowledge the boy who was killed in Rongai for no reason. He couldn't even acknowledge that. He couldn't acknowledge 24 bodies at the morgue that the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights confirmed they have seen. He got into an argument over that, then got personal with Linus Kaikai over an issue that we know is so personal, and it involves a woman in the 1980s, 1990s. Ruto is not a leader. Ruto is not a legitimate president and cannot govern. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Can I go briefly, Dr.
Who's speaking? Benji. Benji, I'll give you the mic in a few. So I just wanted to say that there are 2 people who have
Dr.
messaged
Can I
me.
go briefly?
Benji, can you
Benji,
hear me?
please put your hand up. Put your hand up if you want to
Paula.
speak. There are a lot of people who are on the queue, and then you will be given the mic.
So as I was saying, there are 2 people who have messaged me now. One of them is requesting Kenyans in Kenya to use VPN while spacing. And another one, I just said, he's from the candle lighting event of one of the fallen heroes. So I will add him to the mic, and then he can, also share about that. Hilary, you'd queued in Deborah, right?
She can
Deborah,
go ahead.
go.
Can go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary and Marge, for this. I just want to also add a sentiment on the infighting within the government. To me, I think it's a good cop, bad cop. So one cop is a good cop, and the other one is a bad cop. So we should not be we should not have any side shows with that. That's their own problem. Now, a question that I have for Dr. Miguna. We watched when Keter was being abducted. What can the citizen do? Because people were there videotaping. There were cars also there. Could also citizens stop this arrest? You jam, when they have the car, all the citizens jam and say you cannot do this. Or is that dangerous? That's number one, a question for Miguna. Another thing I also want to say, this year is election year in the United States. We need to bombard the State Department with emails, with Twitter, with pictures of the people who have been killed, with pictures of the demo, and also tagging Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Also Biden, they read these things. They want to be in the good books because in November there's election. So we have an opportune time. Let's put pressure everywhere that we can and tell them what you're doing is wrong. You need to denounce this. You need to denounce people who are being killed on the streets. So that's also how we can put pressure. So thank you very much, and also condolences to the people who've lost their lives.
Thanks, Deborah. And now we move to academia. And Dr. you can chime in anytime. Academia, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. My 2 minutes. I think the system is rotten to the core, and anything that they are doing, the only option we have is to remove the regime completely. And thereafter, we can have a new system that state that can protect or can work in the interest of the common man or the interest of the country. So I think that's the most important thing. Secondly, I urge people to turn in large numbers. As Dr. Miguna said, Kenya on the right is to complete overhaul of the system. And this is the time that we have to use. Otherwise, if we go into the judiciary and all those things, there's a lot of things that happen in judiciary. And therefore, the main focus that we should do now, how do we get the rotten regime out of our way? That is the big question that we have, because we only have one thing to do. One question, how do we get this government out? That is one fundamental thing that we need to do. So everything should revolve around the best way, constitutionally or democratically, whichever way we can get this government out so that we get what can work for us, because it doesn't work for us. It has never worked for the commoner. So this is an installation that was put in place to serve the interest of politicians or politics or other people's interest, not the citizens' interest. As I end, I want to say that there is no, the first article in the Constitution talks about the power of people and shall be exercised in accordance with the same Constitution that we gave ourselves and the governing authority to exercise everything, but we retain the absolute power. So we are now going direct to govern ourselves directly. So nobody should question what people are doing, because that is the essence of this Constitution, is that we protect it indirectly or directly. But the first thing comes is you may exercise it directly before indirectly. So what does that mean? It means that it recognizes that the power belongs to the citizens first before we delegate it to any other person. So let us use that. There is no any other article that comes above Article 1, and that Article 1 recognizes the power of people. So any other question should revolve around the sovereign power that belongs to people, period. Anything we are not going to listen to. We are going to use that and get our country back on the track. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Academia. Hillary, go.
I wanted to
Daktari naona kama
intervene
fungua.
just briefly,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Go on.
Maj, there was a question that was asked of me about, and it is an important question. What do we do if we are in the situation that Keter found himself in, being abducted on the street? You saw people standing by and whatnot. I think the Keter question, if I address it directly, the people who were standing did the right thing. They recorded what is happening. They gave it to the press. And then there was public pressure. Then Keter got released the same day. That is what should be done when you are not enough. They were not enough. They could not have fought with those men with guns. And they were just like 2 or 3 or 4. So if you are not enough, the best course of action is to record and then disseminate the information. However, like in the case that I gave the example yesterday, where they came and wanted to abduct me from the Intercon on the 30th of June 2018, when on my way to go to Uhuru Park in order to swear Raila in. I called in the NRM troops from Uhuru Park who surrounded the hotel, the Intercon, and prevented the abduction. So if you can get enough people to surround the abductors, you can prevent the abduction. Plus, you record it at the same time. However, if you find yourself in a situation like I found myself in, on the 2nd of February 2018, when they came at 3:30 a.m. in the morning in the darkness, hiding in darkness, broke through my gate, blew through my door, and then wanted to abduct me, the only thing you can do is send messages to people who can then come towards where you are if it is at night, so that they can either try to prevent it or at least record the abduction. You recall on the 2nd of February 2018 that there were a lot of people around my house, even in the morning when they were abducting me. They shot them with tear gas and almost, I think, injured quite a number of people and still abducted me. But they recorded it. So, what I'm saying is that the circumstances of the situation would dictate what is to be done. If you are alone, you cannot fight with them with your bare hands. So just record the information. But if you are enough, you can overpower them. That is why the million number plus is important. Because if we are a million plus, they cannot abduct anybody. They cannot shoot at anybody. They will not be able to do anything. We will overpower them by our sheer numbers, even if unharmed. So really, that is the strategy. It is the simplest, it is the most effective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Would you rather we go one by one, or I take like three speakers and then you respond, Dr. Would you prefer?
I think three or four would be better.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them just want to make comments, so they can go ahead.
Okay.
So that we can go quickly.
Okay, fine. Hamix and then Samuel and Okombo in that order.
Hi everyone, are you guys able to hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, you're good.
2 minutes
Thank you
each,
very
please.
much. Okay, thank you very much. So my points are very clear. I just want to make some commentary. And Dr. Miguna, you have no idea what you're doing to this movement. You're really emboldening us. I joined the space yesterday, and I heard everything. You're very objective, the things that we need to do. We need to be very objective, and that really sparked a fire in me. And then there's this video that has been going rounds, I don't know, by some young guy on the streets who was, that video spoke to me, and I just felt like I need to be on the streets tomorrow. And for the first time I was like, I'm not even afraid to die, because there is strength in our numbers, and that is something that we really need to do. We need to turn up in large numbers, because if we give Ruto a chance, he's gonna come and finish us all. And one thing I also want to say is about, let's not buy into this government propaganda. I think government is using old tactics to, try and solve, emerging issues, which is not going to work. So we already know their old tactics, which are already washed out. They're trying to sell us fear, telling us the military is on the streets. But I'm so happy that people are still going to turn up. They're trying to create a lot of misinformation and propaganda just to cause a lot of fear. They're still going to, they're still abducting people. So they're abducting people. You see what they did to Gabby, they did to Shadi. These are people who are very vocal, like Gabriel Oguda kept us very entertained on the internet, but we haven't seen him. But you see, these were, you know, the Twitter giants, but at the same time, just because they're not vocal at this time, there's other people who've come up. So if I know the government is here, the NIS is here, and they're listening, I just want to let them know that you can abduct a million of us, but there's still a million of others who are going to come up. I mean, the cells, the abductions, your Subarus are not going to be enough for, you know, to accommodate all of us. So those are the things I just want to say. And also, just this is a formal request to Dr. Miguna to just ask him to unblock me, because the reason why he blocked me is because we disagreed on Ruto. So I guess we are on the same side at this moment. So Dr. Miguna, kindly unblock me. I really would love to, you know, feed from your knowledge, and just your voice very, you know, you're strong, and you have no idea what that is doing to the rest of us, even the ones who are afraid of going to the streets. That is something that is really emboldening us. But thanks for holding
So if somebody
this
could
space.
text me your handle, because I don't see you, I don't know what your handle is. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Hillary,
Okay.
I will
So
Hillary,
do
let's
that.
please
No,
let's
just
let's
text
have
text
that
Dr.
me.
let's have
Miguna
that
my handle.
sorted on the side, Hamid.
Yeah,
We'll have
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hillary is gonna do that, and so of course I've also had to unblock a few people so that they can participate. But if unblocked, there's a reason why you were blocked. So if unblocked, please don't continue the tirades of insult, because you know, we're all human beings, and I think we have a right to also decide if we want to keep off negative negativity out there.
And remind them to follow each other. Remind them to follow each other.
I
Yes.
think
Hi,
Benji
Maj.
also wanted to speak. I think you should allow him to speak.
Yes, I cannot see him. I,
Okay,
I tried
okay.
to text him. I cannot see him. Nelson, speak as I try to get Benji on.
All right. Mine is not a question because as Dr. Miguna says, this is the right opportunity to reboot the country. It's actually the right opportunity to reboot the system because we have been subjected to a critical juncture where it's like a crossroad. We either go the way we are used to or we change, we make a complete U-turn. And the whole country is ready for that. It's exactly what we saw in other countries when they had this exact moment, like what we have today. So it's very important for us to seize this moment and to actually change our entire system and lead our country to prosperity so that Africa can, you know, we can lead Africa and Africa can follow suit. Also, what I wanted to say is that those people who are fearing that Ruto will shoot people like he has been ordering, like we saw the ex-military guy shooting at protesters at parliament. I just want to tell you that this small push that we have made in the last 2 weeks has made Ruto to be so scared. He withdrew the finance bill, he withdrew the land amendment bill. He has said on record yesterday that he will withdraw the funding to the wives of Kinam Davadi and those first ladies and all that. Only this pressure has made this change that we have seen. Though it's small, but you can see that what we are doing is not something that is going to waste. So even as we go towards Ruto must go, just know that it's gonna happen. And this critical juncture is not an isolated case. It is something that has happened in different countries around the world. And so the countries that they took it in the right way, they actually changed, and it changed their history completely, and they became first world countries. So I just want to encourage everyone. And do not think that just because we are in the diaspora, that's why we are beating the drums of war. No, it's because we have, we love our country. Like for me, I'm in Europe. Every day I walk in the streets, I see how the roads are made, even in the villages, the systems are working. And I'm like, why can't we be like this? This is the moment to make our country to be like that, so that Ruto does not have to send our sons and daughters to Saudi Arabia to become slaves and to be paid minimum wage, because no one in these countries will pay you like they pay themselves. They will pay you minimum wage. And it's even lower than minimum wage, because I saw Ruto was saying some people will be paid $1,500. That's below minimum wage in most countries, like in Europe, in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, the salaries are even 10 times higher than in Europe. So if you're being paid $1,500, this is you're a slave. You're a slave. So Ruto is sending Kenyans to become slaves in these countries. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Maj.
Nelson. And can we please try to stick to 2 minutes each? And Benji,
Would you please give me a chance to speak, because you gave me a chance, but the mic seems there was a problem.
okay, there's a lot of mic issues.
But I think as much as they come back, they need to raise their hands
Yes,
so that
yes. So
you cannot just
Tabitha and
talk
then Paul,
randomly.
and 2 minutes each. So that let me explain. Once you 1 minute is over, I'm going to raise my hand, and then that means you only have 1 minute to go. So once you start speaking, kindly check on my profile, at least for time orientation, because there are many people who are waiting. And let me try to add Benji again. I don't know what's wrong with his handle. He dropped again. Tabitha and then Paul. No, there was Wakili. Tabitha and then MC Wakili. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maj. I hope you can hear me all. I'm
Can you, Tabi? Yeah,
Tabitha
go ahead.
Kutu. I come from Sia County. I am so happy that at such a point we are having a conversation that is creating change and is going to create impact in what you'd like to see in terms of governance and how things should run in Kenya. I have a question to Dr. Miguna. On Thursday last week, I was preparing to host a summit for the youth in Sia County. And I was, as I was going through the town, and there was the protest by the youth in our county, and I witnessed a shooting of one youth by the police in Sia town, as one person who was trying to ask questions of why would you shoot a young person who's really protesting about the very hard situation of life. And the youth was just crying that they have graduated, they don't have employment. And the police ganged up, and the people who surrounded me were saying that there had to be one person to die for the youth to, calm down and, try to do these things in an orderly way. So as a person who felt agitated, what can I really do? Because I really feel that if it is not addressed, then many other youth are in the process, even in the next protests, are going to have this kind of fatalities. They're going to perhaps be shot dead again. And yet what they're asking for, and what we are really asking for as the young people, is a transformative way of governance and and our issues to be heard. So how do we move from here? And what is the role of the general community? Because I believe that we have a role to play. So how do you deal with such a situation where others feel like it's vindicated or it's okay that the police had to use one youth so that other youths could stop being rowdy as they claim? How do you deal with this?
Thank you so much, Tabitha. Maybe Benji can go and then Dr. will answer those questions. Benji, over to you.
Much obliged. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Miguna, my friend. I just want to express my deep disappointment.
Is it talking really much? Nobody's
No,
speaking.
Benji is speaking, but I think somebody is tampering with your mic as the host. But you cannot drop, because if you drop,
Okay.
you're gonna the whole space is gonna drop. He is indeed speaking. I'll text you what you can do. But Benji, please
All
proceed.
right.
Yes,
Go ahead.
madam. I was just saying that I'm deeply disappointed and, to be honest, extremely concerned. Here is a country in a deep crisis of the president's own making. We have now, for more than 2 weeks, just been completely inside of a revolution. We are on international news in every channel. Al Jazeera have done a documentary. Unarmed youth are being shot. Parliament has been banned. The Chief Justice's office has been banned. Ruto gave an interview yesterday. It is now 24 hours. Ruto seems paralyzed and trapped. I don't understand what his problem is, because it is obvious even to a child that from the beginning we had issues at vetting of the cabinet, at selection of such nominated parliamentarians as Karen Nyamu. The finance bill, even from things like not just adding taxes on pampers and whatnot, but even adding taxes on wheelchairs. You know, Ruto pretty much doubled the price of gasoline. The G2G model was actually my initial suggestion at TV47. I just don't understand. Is Ruto under siege himself? Because 24 hours later, he's literally unable to say, okay, Njuguna Ndungu drafted this thing. We obviously have issues with Midika Linturi because of the fertilizer, etc., etc., etc. What is the problem? Why can't he do anything at all? Maybe Miguna can help. And I'm sure Dr. Miguna will explain that this is impunity. But especially for those of us who supported him, because this was not the agreement. This is not why we helped the deputy president then. So this is just a concern I wanted to express. And then secondly, the behavior of the police. And maybe if I could just, I'm able to get a lot of, sourcing and whatnot. So it's very difficult now to massacre Kenyans. So this is actually, last week was the safest, to take an action and to get, a proper regime change in effect. It's very difficult to massacre. The Pope has called, the UN has written, Anthony Blinken has written. This is like everything he had cultivated on this image has just been lost overnight. So to massacre is very difficult. Maybe lastly, the last concern I would like to especially express to constitutional lawyers like Miguna and just people who are active citizens out here like myself and others, Cheretich and whatnot, is if he goes, which it looks like he will, let us really have a strong voice to avoid confusion, to avoid opportunism. Because what happened in Sudan, then you have a transitional, task force of sorts, then it fights with itself, then the military has to take it, then the military starts having divisions, etc. So let's put some thought into that so that then the transitional instrument gives us an opportunity to start afresh. We have problems at every level, but the good news is that they're solvable problems. Those of us who've been activists for a long time, we've been talking this language for years. Miguna's been talking this language for years, certainly myself. You can just go and search tweets and see. And so just to see the whole country on this page, and I have a Somali neighbor who's in the demos tomorrow. Actually, let me put it this way: I don't know anyone who is not going to demonstrations, and it just feels like we're living in another world. And the president brought this upon himself. He is still, I don't know, is he under siege? How, what is he waiting for? It's just unbelievable. But let's keep being the voices of reason. Fear has no factor in really anything. I mean, someone just dies once. And a successful country, as the guys in diaspora are saying, you travel out and you see, and you live out there and you see what highways look like, and what a city council looks like, and what a governor should be like, what a senator should be. And then you run into someone like Kimani Kuria and all these guys. I mean, Moses Kuria asked us, Chimba Kisimayako, when they were adding fuel. This is unforgivable. This is unforgivable. And so some of us were really happy that finally Kenyans are angry enough and we cannot all be dismissed as keyboard warriors. Thanks and God bless everybody. God bless Kenya. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Benji. I think Dr. will take over. Kingsman, not unless you want to say something briefly before it.
Yeah, I just wanted to put something across what was Benji was asking. I think Benji Daktari has already said that. You see, we've already rolled. So the aim here is first to get this person out of. He needs to go, and I think today we're exercising our power directly as a people. If you see on the comment side, we've put on Article 1 of our Constitution, and then they have said that there are two ways in which we can exercise our power as the people. That is through the elected members, that is the national government and then the county government. And then we can also exercise our power directly. So that is the course. I believe all of us are on the same page. So first of all is tomorrow we're exercising our power as a people, legally, constitutionally, to ensure that Ruto goes. After Ruto goes, then these other things will just come later. As someone said earlier, we are on a juncture moment. This is an historical moment. These are 1963, 1964 moments.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I will start with what Deborah was commenting on regarding bombarding for people who are in the diaspora or people who are capable of reaching the puppet controllers, the puppet owners in the Western Hemisphere. This is exactly what I said yesterday. I said, if you can reach them by email, do so. If you can reach them by phone, do so. Bombard them completely. And as I said earlier today, if you are capable of drafting petitions or drafting any instrument for purposes of bringing them and also Ruto to account anywhere in the world, go ahead and do so. We encourage you strongly to do so. It's quite effective. If you are capable of picketing or demonstrating for those who are in the diaspora in Washington and other places, do so. Make sure the world hears you. To my friend Benji, the problem is Ruto. The problem is not his advisors. The problem are not his employees or anybody else. There was a time I spoke with a friend of his and a confidant of his. And I asked, what is the problem? Why would Ruto hire this kind of people? Why would Ruto hire Mithika Linturi or Aisha Jumwa or Moses Kuria or any of these dunderheads that would not be able to write their names on a full scap? Some of them are so drunk 24 hours that they wouldn't be able to do anything, even in the offices. And the guy told me, I asked him the same question, particularly when he appointed so-and-so. I'm not going to say the name, but the appointment was so ridiculous. And Ruto looked up to him and told him, first of all, who appointed you my advisor? Essentially saying, you're my friend, but you're not my advisor. Secondly, who told you I appointed them to work? In other words, Ruto says he's the only one who is supposed to do everything, and these people are supposed to be puppeteers who follow his direction. So whatever has happened, he has directed. Whatever has gone wrong, he has approved, authorized, and directed. He is the problem. He thinks he knows everything and he knows squat. He thinks that Kenya is a chicken coop that he can micromanage. A country is too big, too complex to be micromanaged by an individual who does not know his left from his right to begin with. Being eloquent is not knowledge, and we must disabuse him of this. A country, even if you are the most intelligent, you wouldn't have enough hours to be able to dispense your knowledge on every sector in every sphere. So Ruto is the problem. And then the regime he put in place must fall with him because he brought them up and they have failed us. So I believe I'm answering Benji in a way that we are dealing with a psychopath. We are dealing with I wouldn't even call him a demagogue. He's worse than a demagogue. There is no English word to describe Ruto right now. He has metamorphosed into something too dangerous, too complicated to be understood even by Ruto himself, as we could see when he was being interviewed. So we are past redemption. We are into reconstruction, replacement, and punishment. Unless he decides on his own just to go into exile, in which case we can also bring him back. But as it is right now, he should resign, apologize to the Kenyan people, and maybe we may forgive him after he has brought back all the money that he has looted. But there should be no reverse gear. We are moving forward. Ruto has violated so many provisions of the Constitution, starting with the Chapter 6, integrity. The integrity provisions have been peed on and defecated on. And there is nothing that we are going to do about it unless we remove him. And he's not capable of cleaning himself. So the scandals are too many to enumerate. They happen every day, and it is almost as if he does it so that you wouldn't know where to start. Because would you really start with the fake fertilizer? Or would you start with the scandal about edible oils? Or would you start with the housing levy? Or would you start with the 700 million for every infrastructural development, 700 billion for every infrastructural development that they have so that they can steal? Or should we start with Farouk and his thugs or Oscar Sudi? What is it? There are too many to enumerate. His foreign policy is in complete chaos. He's the only African leader supporting the genocide in Palestine. Like, that's just not forgivable. He's the only one supporting the genocide in Sudan. He supports Hemdet, who leads the Janjaweeds in Sudan, because Hemdet gives him access to the gold deposits in Sudan. I mean, we can go on and on. Ruto is irredeemable.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daktari. I think, guys, check your network because many people are dropping. Sometimes here we didn't even have cost.
Can you hear me,
So
Hillary?
yeah, I can hear you, Kumukeni. I can hear you. I can hear you very well. I don't know who's coming next. We have Mwaura. We have Mwok,
Can I just
Miriam.
I just wanna
You can hear me?
real quick, Hillary, because
Okay, go
it
ahead.
seems like we are beating this horse that is already dead. We've all agreed we're going to go take Ruto out. So I don't see how productive it is for us to continue talking about getting Ruto out when we've all agreed. So
Right.
and it keeps to be it keeps being pushed away, but this is a conversation that must be had. What is the way forward? We are having these rooms. It is best to use them for that, so that if there are skilled people in these rooms, they can start coordinating and organizing for that purpose. The other thing, too, that's not being addressed is the white elephant, the huge, no pun intended, white elephant of foreign interference that is not being addressed and keeps being pushed away when it is a very important factor in building a secure and sovereign nation moving forward. So please, if we can move the conversation towards those two things. Asante.
But Madam Host, I thought we dealt with the way forward yesterday, and I thought we generally agreed. I'm not sure what the problem is, unless somebody has another
I
idea.
can confirm your position, Dr. Miguna Miguna, you're
No,
right on this.
but I've not had any contrary
The,
position.
then let's have a briefing of it. Why don't we have a briefing for those who didn't hear? Because clearly I didn't hear it. Let's have a briefing. What hurts in us
Okay,
having a
but were
briefing?
you here yesterday?
I didn't hear a way forward yesterday.
There was a comprehensive way
No,
forward yesterday, and it's even on my X handle. Really,
I
if we are going to go back on what we discussed yesterday, we will not be able to move ahead.
so here is
There
my
is, I've
quick
even
question.
published, let me finish.
Oh, okay.
I've published a 2-page document, which is on my handle, summarizing what we discussed yesterday.
I
And it,
understand that, but it
right.
still does not address the issue of foreign interference. I have listened to you, I have read it, it's still not addressing that. In fact, we continue to talk about let's do protests, let's force these foreign entities to. These foreign entities are intentionally doing this to us, so there's no going to ask
No.
them.
I think you are taking us back. Let me
No,
address
yes.
I'm
that
not.
once
No,
and
I'm
for all
No,
not.
no, no.
today.
Hold on. Please, Please,
Kumbukeni. No,
Madge,
no, no, no,
no.
no. With
Madge.
all due respect, thank you, Hillary, for taking charge. Let us not divert. If you want to talk about foreign interference completely, we can have a space for that. Miguna was invited for this, and let's keep to the topic. I know that there are people who have different agendas, and they want to push them at all cost. This is not the place for it. Create a space, invite us, we're going to come to discuss that topic, you know, in accordance to our priorities also. That was an issue that was also raised here yesterday. Dr. Biguna talked about it. And yesterday, the space was exclusively about the way forward, which Dr. Miguna actually intensively explained and has, as he says now, also put up documentation. If you have other agendas to all the speakers here that you want to fuel, please go ahead. It's a free world. Just don't do it in this space. Now,
Madge,
yes.
let me put that question to rest. And I'm sorry we have to do it, but we're going to do some of these things over and over again. You're not going to address foreign or intervention or foreign interference if you're not in charge of your government. If the foreigners have captured your government and it becomes their puppet, the only recourse you have as an intelligent human being is to replace the puppet. You're not going to be able to deal with a foreigner you have no access to that is interfering with a third party you have control over. You deal with the agent or your employee you have control over. You fire him or her. And that's what we are doing. The moment we fire Ruto, which is what we are doing tomorrow, then that foreign interest or the interference will end. Because then we make sure that we don't get it anymore. We deal with the issues. The logistics of dealing with management of our foreign affairs or dealing with affairs of state will be dealt with by the National Transitional Authority together with the public and everybody else. So let's not get into these other side issues. The main issue is removing Ruto. The logistics of doing that, people can present on the table. How do we get to the CBD, for example? That's a good question. Where do we congregate? What do we chant? Do we go to State House? These are things that people can talk about. How about people in other places like Mombasa, Malindi, Mandera? Which spheres, which public spaces should we occupy? These are things we can discuss and agree on. Yes, they will pour the police there, but if we are there in our numbers, the police will not be able to do anything. Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. And now we move to Maura and then Mariam Rose in that order. 2 minutes each, please. Mook, I saw you. I skipped you. You go right directly after Miriam and then Abdi and then Dr. Terry will answer your questions. Over to you, Maura.
Okay, thank you, Maj. Thank you for the space and thank you, Henry. I just have one question to Dr. It is somehow a constitutional question. Now, I knew before the 2010 constitution came into place, the president could dissolve the parliament, that he could fire the vice president, but that one is no longer possible in the new constitution. Now, Dr. Miguna, does the current constitution of 2010 envision a situation whereby, like now, we want to remove Ruto, and then he has to resign and his government has to resign. Is there an article that can take care of that? And the reason is this. If now tomorrow, if Ruto gets the heat too much and he resigns, what happens next? Who dissolve the parliament, the cabinet he can dissolve, but who dissolve the parliament and the governors and such? And what does the constitution say about that? Can you try to clear that to clear that one for me, Dr. Miguna? Because I know about the old constitution, but for this one, I don't know whether that's a situation. The constitution revision is such a situation. Thank you, Dr.
I'll jump in quickly.
Okay.
Clause 1 of the Constitution gives the citizens of Kenya power to take power and exercise it directly from their elected representatives, whom they have donated power to under the Constitution. So, which means the people can say Ruto and his entire government are fired and they should tender in their resignation. Or they can say you have deemed that they have already resigned when you occupy these public spaces and say nothing will go on, there will be no government until they vacate your offices. Those are our offices. State House is ours, not Ruto's. Arambe House is ours, not Ruto's. All government offices belong to the people, and we can tell them to leave, which is what we plan to do tomorrow. And that is done under Clause 1 of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Terry. Miriam, over to you.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I have 3 things. One, I wanted to just make an observation. It's something I felt. It's a feeling I had when I was in these spaces this evening, and there was a lot of energy. I'm very empathic. There's a lot of agitation and restlessness, but it's in our favor, I should say. I actually strongly believe we shall win. We don't until 2027. Ruto and the system will be overturned. And we will be the case that the rest of Africa is going to look up. Agitation and restlessness in the air right now. And then as far as what Kumbukeni was asking about way forward, so how I can also state it is that what Dr. did yesterday was give us, what I hear is that there's a concept paper, it's a concept. And I like that he's actually mentioned that we need on the ground, vitu kwa ground, how will we do this? Are we meeting in City Park? Are we meeting in Uhuru Park? What are we doing? I had in another group someone suggesting we can go and sit down so that we are able to be distinguished from the people who will be maybe the goons. If they decide to destroy, we can have a plan to segregate ourselves so that we can have evidence that we were peaceful. So yeah, it's true. I agree with Kumbukeni to some extent that we need tangible way forward. So even in the event of, let's say, Ruto goes home tomorrow, who I know it can be organic, I appreciate that, but there needs to be like a clarity of sorts. it will help. The same way the paper he presented yesterday it's clear, and I'm very grateful for that. But the next step isn't that clear. I don't know whether we'll wait for it to be organic still, but I feel like if we leave loopholes, that's when we can now end up becoming like the countries we keep saying we don't want to become. Then the third thing is just, I was curious about this one that I don't have to answer, but I'm honestly curious why you are rallying behind Ruto. Yesterday you said it's because you knew he was weak. Were you doing it because you knew he was weak? Why did you support him if you know he's not a good person, he's a psycho? And then the last thing is, I wanted to just mention that, like I said, I'm empathic, I'm very spiritual, into the spiritual, and I know that energies are energies. You can't deny there is that part of life as well. And what me and a group of us have been doing is raising the vibration through chanting. I have a space on Twitter. I invite chant and raise the vibration, because positive vibration will also chip into the cause. It will also contribute to this cause, because positivity is positivity, no matter how it's done. So if anyone is interested, just hit me up. Thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you. And
Much.
yes,
Yeah, as you come in, there's a question that was asked by a lady.
I can't hear you.
yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
can completely not hear Hillary. That's okay. Somebody who's listening now is trying to tamper with the space. Please, we are going to try to find out after all this has settled. It always leaves traces. So that the first thing they always do is to make sure that the host does not hear people, but the host cannot leave, because if the host leaves, the space drops. Hilary, that's why you cannot hear, Dr. cannot hear you.
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear everybody, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but can I just answer the lady quickly?
Yes, please.
Because I don't think she understood me, and I want to be able to be understood. And I'm not sure why, because I thought I communicate effectively. But sometimes if somebody has refused to understand you, there is nothing you can do. All you can do is try to explain, but if they refuse, I really am not bothered. Number one, and I'm addressing the
Daktari has now dropped. Hillary, kindly check on him. I just saw him drop. So, but as I put in the other person in the next person to speak, he dropped while he was speaking. So it's not like he really, let's see how he comes back. Hillary, can you please check with him? But Miriam, I think Daktari yesterday explained why he supported Ruto, and I'm going to explain it, and then he can also come and give a summary. So according to him yesterday, he said he supported Ruto because Uhuru was trying to impose Raila as the president, and he wanted to do away with the idea of a sitting president imposing another president on us. Miriam, that was clear. So please, let us be objective. I know that is what he said. Even me, I had that question before, but that is his clarification. So once he clarifies something, I think it just saves time. When the things is clarified, we don't put him through answering again. Another thing he said yesterday is that according to Article 1 of the Constitution, that is where when that is effected, then there's going to form like a transitional committee that constitutes about 54 members from different communities. And then from that, yes, he's back. Dr. I was trying.
Daktari is back.
I
Yes.
am. I am sorry. I
Okay,
am.
Daktari,
then
can you hear me
over
now?
to you. Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead now.
So Maj, I was hearing you actually, but I wanted to add to the lady, because some of these things are, you can't take out the fact that we are all human beings. So if somebody went to our home and bombed it, and then took her from our house at 3:00 in the morning, 3 a.m., and abducted her and tortured her for days and weeks, then took her on a plane and took her to Brazil and blocked her from coming back to Kenya for 5 years, would she support the candidate that person puts forward as a presidential candidate? Or would she try to remove that person that did all these things to him or to her and then blocked her from coming back to the country? And add to that, that person sedated you and you regained consciousness in London. You regained consciousness in London. You are dead for 8 hours and came back to life in London after 8 hours. Some of these questions are like Ruto yesterday. In fact, people who speak like that to me, I consider them pathological psychopaths, just like Ruto. Because it's like you don't want me to behave like a human being. How do you have the audacity to challenge my choice of trying to replace the people who did this to me? Because I'm a human being. They did this to me. And this person who did this to me had declared, and their supporters like you had declared, that if they won the election, I would never be able to step onto the soil of Kenya. I would only come back as a corpse. So let us be honest with ourselves. Let us be objective. And above all, let us try to exhibit some humanity. Because I know many of you have never been tortured. Many of you have never been abducted. Many of you have never been locked up or locked up of the country. To be locked out of your country for 5 years is worse than being jailed at committee. And many of you have not and will never go through that. And yet, I did not surrender. I did not go to Uhuru and say, forgive me. I did not do what Raila did, go and get money and keep quiet. And I've not kept quiet up to today. You owe me a thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Actually, thank you for clarifying because I'm not against you. I always follow you. It's just good to
No, Miriam, can we
have
please
back so
proceed?
that when I'm able to
Miriam, okay. You're muted. Maj, thank you so much. Maj, there's one question I think that I didn't answer. There's a lady came here called Tabitha. She asked about when she was mobilizing youth in Sia County, and then one was shot and being scared and everything. I don't know. Can you retract the same question, Doctor?
Yeah, I can. And
Oh,
the answer is the same answer I gave to Nyaradwen. Every circumstance dictates a different response. If you are many and you are capable of overpowering the person who is doing this, you should be able to do that. That is the responsible thing to do. If you are few and you have no capacity to stop the person, record the person, let us expose the person, let us unleash our youth on that person. When we are able to deal with Ruto, replace him, reconstruct the state, we will be able to punish that person legally. But for now, those are the only things that we can do for now.
Thank you, Dr. Guys, when you get to the mic, only 2 minutes so that at least we can consider the over 100 people who need the mic. I'd queued in Mook, but please, I'd forgotten MC Wakili and Paul. So they go first and then you come in as number 3. MC Wakili?
Thank you very much. My senior Miguna, thank you so much for sharing your sentiments. I appreciate. And of course, my condolences go to my fellow comrades and the families who are bereaved and those who are in hospital. I wish them a quick recovery. On my end, I must register my support to the Gen Z and, of course, the rest of us who have been in the forefront fighting and exercising our rights under Article 37 and now under Article 1. And I concur and agree with my senior Dr. Miguna that we are, under Article 1, we have the power for us to exercise governance directly. And I think for me, I would want to really rally our support. I have been on the streets myself. And one thing that I want to urge us, even as we focus on going back again to tomorrow is that let's continue doing what we've been doing. Guys have been live all through. Information is power. These demonstrations have been unique in that I saw a lot of people online, and they were online all through. Use that and make sure that we broadcast this. Let's empower ourselves. Our forefathers, our grandfathers fought. The Mau Mau fought the white. They fought the resistance, and they were able to succeed. But unfortunately, the one who took power are not the Mau Maus. The Mau Maus are still suffering. We are on the streets and we are fighting. It's only us who should be on that seat. Let's not give up. We can't let this go. We have to push and push and push. So I'm here to rally on all of us. We need all hands on deck. The professionals, all of us, even I myself will have matters tomorrow. I don't want to appear in those matters. I want to be on the streets with the rest of us who are branded criminals to fight. This is our chance. Let's go for it. But thank you. Viva. Sante.
Thanks so much for keeping the time. Paul, over to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, I had this question for Miguna. So basically, my question was, okay, what other strategies can you employ apart from other strategies of protest that can be employed? Since you know very well, I think, yes, the protest can definitely get Ruto out, but as he explained, as he has explained about the terrible person that he is, I think there has to be more strategies of protest that have to be employed. And what other strategies does he think that can be employed apart from just normal occupying different areas, public spaces and stuff like that? Because let's look at it in a scenario whereby he can just decide that, okay, you guys can occupy the space, maybe do whatever he does, people go back home, and then probably you can't, how can that be sustained over a certain period of time, in a sense whereby it's very effective? So I think there should be other strategies that can be employed. So what are those strategies that does he think, apart from the normal protests that we're doing where people walk, that can be employed in order to be more effective?
Thank you so much.
Maj,
Yes,
if I
please
could.
go. Yeah.
You see, we've come up with our strategy, and the Gen Zs have done the strategy. They've gone onto the streets and occupied it, and it's been effective. It's worked. It's worked since the French Revolution. It's worked over different epochs in different countries. So if you have a strategy, put it on the table. We have a strategy that is working, and you are saying that there could be other strategies that could work. Yeah, so we are going to. Somebody is interfering again.
I've muted the person. Kindly proceed. Kindly proceed. I muted the person. Dr.
I'm saying this is the strategy that we have. This is the strategy that has worked over the centuries in different countries, different continents. This is the strategy that has worked in Kenya since 2 weeks ago. So there is no reason to adopt another strategy. If you have a superior strategy and you think ours is inferior, then you better present it to the people. Ours is working. Present yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul, I think at this point, really, they said never touch a running system if it's running now. I think we leave that to that. We leave it at that. Mook and then Abdi.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Mook Nyabinda, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Otherwise, Abdi, go.
You can hear me?
No, he's talking, Maj. He's talking.
Okay,
I
then
can
I'll
hear
have you
him.
log out and go.
Okay,
And
you can hear me
come
now?
back again. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. So, hello everyone, and thank you again for organizing this space. And thank you to Dr. Miguna And I think we should be the 10 million strong. There is no doubt there is a lot at the stake and wrong in our country, and people are angry and frustrated. It's our duty to speak up and to go to the street and to fight for our rights. Kenya has been facing numerous challenges for sure, and that needs action. As we said in this forum many times, there is an economic hardship. The cost of living has soared, making basic necessities unaffordable for many people. We have even to increase our remittance to meet that gap. Corruption has been rampant within the government and has really drained public resources. Mismanagement of public funds and lack of accountability have perpetuated our culture of impunity. Human rights violation, increasing reports of police brutality and suppression of peaceful protest have violated citizens' fundamental right to express their grievances. And definitely there is also the inequality gap, the rich and the poor, that continues to widen. We need a change in leadership that prioritizes transparency, accountability, and well-being of all the citizens. We are committed to social justice, 100 million strong, and we go on. Viva.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdi. And Daktari, thank you so much for being with us here. I would take it differently from the one question that keeps on coming. I think we have already the solution and we are not going to address it again. So if you're coming to ask way forward again, and yesterday you went through it, we will give the mic to other people with the other questions. So Mok, you'll go. Maj, I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah.
you. Paris.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going through we are not going to address that question that Doc answered yesterday intensively. So people that are going to take us back or maybe divert our conversation, we are not going to give them the mic. We drop you from the mic if you're going to take it on that aspect. And it's not going to be like it's rude. It's going to be like you want to go forward and you keep on backtracking us unless you have an ill motive. So Husam, you'll take the mic. And then Marge will continue from there. Me, I'm here to back you up. So carry on. You're doing a good job. And Daktari, thank you very much. Sam.
Yes, thank you, Daktari, for being here with us today. We really appreciate your time. Hillary, for hosting the space, and the co-host also. Now, mine is just very briefly to thank you, Daktari, for giving and guiding us with a very clear and concise method and way forward. I think there's a lot of noise and many distractions with regards to the discourse which is currently going on. You know, there are very many diversionary discourses which are currently being propagated at the moment, and we really appreciate that, Daktari. Daktari, my other question, possibly if you can guide us also, is in the peripheral towns, in towns like other towns like Mombasa, which do not are not where the parliament is not domiciled in. What is the most advisable course of action for the small towns and which are not the capital? What can we do? Just briefly, if you can guide us on that. And Santeni Sana, if everybody can turn up tomorrow, I'd like to wish all Kenyans very happy Mandamano, and condolences to everybody who has lost their relatives and to our foreign comrades. Back to you.
Maj, thank you very much. Let me be brief. I think Kenyans have done us proud in the last 2 weeks. They have held protests everywhere. Protests have been held. I have videos of even little children who probably are not even 10 singing in the villages, Ruto must go, Ruto must go. So it's caught fire and it's everywhere. Let's make it that way. Those in Mombasa know where to congregate and protest in the loudest terms possible so that they can be heard. And we let it be organic the way that it's been. They will choose where to go, where to hold protests, how to hold the protests, and then they will go and come back. If possible, if it was possible logistically, The most effective way would have been to occupy one place in the CBD and not leave for the entire period until Ruto falls. And then this becomes a big celebration, and more people come. More people can even come from up country. But we leave it to the Gen Zs on the ground to decide whether that is what they are going to do, or they are going to do it one day at a time. We are not going to prescribe anything because they have said we are leaderless, they are leaderless, they are structureless, they are tribeless. And so far, it has worked like magic. So if it is working, you don't interfere with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Okay.
Sorry, Madge. Let me just add something on to Hussam.
That's all right. That's all right. Over to you.
Yeah, there's something Hussam is going on around from the bloggers. They are trying to claim that Mombasa is giving each and every demonstrator 1,000. It's a wrong narrative. If you're in this space and you've seen that, it's a lie. Hussam, you know how Mombasa is working, and I don't see anybody that has actually sponsored any demonstrator. So if you see that kind of post, just write it fake. There's nobody that is funding. There's no tribal the way it is going, no leader, and that's it. So keep that spirit, and tomorrow, one team strong, a million strong. Carry on, Madge.
Thank you so much, Biril, and thanks for really emphasizing that we should keep on track and remain, discussing, relevant things and not a repetition of what was done yesterday. So I underscore that, and we proceed. But did Mok already speak, or because if he spoke, then we go to Rosemary. But should you want to say anything anytime, Biril, feel free to just open your mic. I'll see that, and you able to just proceed.
And Margie, could we close it soon? Because I think going on too long is also not
Okay.
counterproductive.
So shall we close it at the end, at the top of the hour?
I believe so that
Okay.
people can also rest and then go. Yeah.
I'm so tired.
Thank you.
Okay, so KOT, it's good that you got the mic. So because we are closing at the top of the hour, unfortunately, we're not going to add more speakers, but we are going to discuss with Hillary and Dr. to tell us when we're coming next, and then we're going to, have a next session. So Rosemary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Kuona mtu ni nambari 5, unajua yeye ndo yuko kwenye mtima wa beki. Yes.
Hello, can you all you all
hear me? Yeah. There was some interruption, but now everything is all right. Kindly proceed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marge and Hillary and Biril for doing this. And Dr. Miguna, we salute you. I'll take only about a minute because you guys are stopping and I want others also to get a chance to be able to speak. I have been on the X Spaces for a long time. Marge, Hillary, you remember all that. We were in the doldrums. I mean, all of us have gone through this. We're very proud of the Generation Z. Now, Dr. Miguna, I sympathize with you. I pray for you on what you went through. I can tell you, even your enemies did not like what happened to you. Well, all of us, we are not boarding. That is one of the hashtags that we've used. And why am I bringing it up? Probably this is not said enough. Some of the good points that you've brought up, we must applaud them. But some of the negativity that you've also brought up, we must also say. One of the negativity, and probably this may be personal, and really it doesn't matter. It is important to also take valid criticism. Sometimes you come on very strongly, and your language sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. So I'll just stop at that. But having pushed the Ruto narrative because you were unhappy with Uhuru and this and that, and he was imposing another leader. This is not neither here nor there, and it's not a question of you're going to either now say all negative things because I've said this. No, let's just we are all brothers and sisters. Sote ni wa Kenya. Whether you live in Canada, I live in the US, nyumbani Kenya is home, and we are very proud. Now let me come back to some of the very
I think we lost Rosemary there. But now next is KOT. KOT, go on. You are at you attended a very important event today. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. I hope everybody can hear me clearly.
Yeah, loud and clear. And thanks for representing on the ground.
Okay, fine. My real name is Marvin Mabonga, and I like to introduce myself with my official name. Is KOT speaking currently. And today at around 8 p.m., we gathered at Kahawa Wendani stage to remember and honor our fallen comrade by the name Mike. Just few days ago, Mike had buried his father, but only to face an ultimate death from a police bullet in Nakuru. So, because we gathered there, and of course, Mike was not just a friend or a brother to us. He was a warrior fighting for the freedom and rights for our country. Of course, his commitment to justice and his unwavering courage serves as an inspiration, because on that day in Nakuru, Mike has been working here in.
Move a little closer to the mic, please.
I'm saying that on last week when he was protesting in Nakuru, Mike was shot dead and he received 3 bullets where he couldn't make it to the hospital. He was pronounced dead. And of course, we lit the candles in his memory so as to keep his spirit alive and to remind ourselves of the work that still needs to be done. His sacrifice, of course, will not go in vain. And at the moment, as the Gen Z, we say that may his soul rest in peace. So, aside from what we have done in Kahawa and Dani, I tried to reach out to a few members who knows where Mike was from, and I've been trying so much to reach out to Akina Hanifa, who promised to actually help in contribution of funeral and all the plans. Unfortunately, they don't have their contacts and they cannot access them on social media because probably they have a lot of.
I'm sorry to do that.
Okay.
TOT, I'm sorry, forgive me. We really had a guest, and I'll address you differently, like separately on this. Kindly allow me. We need Daktari to wind up so that we can close with Daktari, and then you can have A or B. So if you don't have a question, I'll allow you to stick on the mic. But if you don't have a question for Daktari,
hold on, please be real. Kindly,
yes.
I think he is looking for ways of having the compensation, or there was a money that was being collected, and Hanifa stated that they cannot pay out without reports from the post-mortem reports. So probably it's about the process there. So I would like to encourage you, KOT, to really just check with Hanifa. She made a post there so that at least they can be able, if there are any questions we can clarify. You can also just inbox me so that we can follow up on that. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's why I said we do it differently. Okay. That I also have the contact, and then we'll try to address it differently so that we don't have to hold up Daktari. That's why I wanted him to hold it up.
Thank you. Back to you.
Is that okay, Kyoti? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, kindly. We'll help you out in that, and then so that the family can be compensated because the money was already out. We just need to wind up with the people with questions so that we can release Daktari. He's been here for a while, and we want to respect his time so that when we invite him again, he can actually come back. So if you don't have a question, I'll take it from here kindly. If you have a question, just give me a hand up. But if you have a comment, we'll take it after Daktari has left. Can we all agree on that? So if you have a question, give me your hand up. Moses, take the mic, and then Kingsman.